This is Inside KELOLAND.
Good evening, I'm Don Jorgensen. Thanks for joining us. Even if you lived in the city all your life, you don't have to travel far in South Dakota to see the state's leading industry at work. From the farm fields to livestock and manufacturers supporting those efforts, ag is a leading force in our state. It's also one that faces many risks, especially this year. Tonight, we preview the upcoming Govs Ag Summit and how it will help the industry for years to come. Many in the field often keep their feelings to themselves, but that can take a mental toll. We share the special hotline offering some relief. And severe spring flooding has many people eligible for FEMA assistance. What you need to know before you apply. Wednesday kicks off Govs Agricultural Summit in Sioux Falls, and while this is a yearly event, this year may draw a little more attention due to the dire straits some farmers and ranchers are finding themselves in. Joining us tonight to talk about the summit and the future of ag are Lauren Nas and Callie Williams. Welcome to both of you. First off, talk about the summit.
Well, each year we look forward to having the summit. It's a great opportunity for agricultural enthusiasts and leaders across the state to get together, particularly in business, finance, education, agriculture. It's a great opportunity for those areas of South Dakota life to come together and talk about the commonalities that we have with agriculture. Ag is a leading leader in the South Dakota economics. So anytime we can get together and discuss how we can further grow South Dakota's economy is a win for South Dakota. And that is also something we look forward to at the Govs Ag Summit.
Do you know how many years it's been active?
I do not. I believe a few years. I don't know the exact number, though.
Why is it so important to have an ag summit like this?
Sure. Well, it's just important because, as I mentioned, South Dakota agriculture is a major contributor to South Dakota's economy. And so anytime we can get agricultural leaders in the same building, all working towards the same goal of building agriculture in South Dakota, that's going to be a huge part of how we can continue to get the message out and continue to promote agriculture in South Dakota.
And Callie, you're part of the next generation of agricultural panel that will be speaking on Thursday. What are some of the biggest issues that people in the industry are facing right now?
So as everyone knows, the biggest thing facing us right now is what Mother Nature did to us. Whether you were on a cow-calf operation, you saw every form of moisture hit you during calving season, and our crop farmers, some were delayed planting, and while others didn't get to plant at all. And so that is something that we are going to be dealing with for a few seasons to come. But something that I see as a major issue due to everything that happened is the well-being of our farmers. I've heard more farmers say, why would our children do this, rather than being the optimistic people that we are. So there's just a few things that we need to kind of look forward and be positive about what we can do in the future.
You said it'll affect us for a few years. Can you explain that?
So when you look around South Dakota, a lot of people who raise cattle also harvest their own crops in order to feed those cattle. So if they were unable to get crops into their field and they may have to purchase grain this fall or all of their feed stuff for their cattle, they're going to have to really look at their break even of, should we sell calves sooner than normal, or will we be able to purchase this grain? So it's a financial hardship that even though planting season is done, whether they got it in the field or not, we will be paying for this fall during harvest and see what we can do next spring as well.
What's the mindset right now of the farmers and ranchers?
I see a lot of nervous farmers and ranchers. One of our ranching friends had said, we're an optimistic bunch or we wouldn't be here. And that is so true. It is bred into us to be so optimistic that next year's market will be better or Mother Nature will be better to us next year. And after getting pounded on by Mother Nature this year, I don't know if that optimism is really there.
Yeah. Like a lot of things, there are highs and lows. Farming is no different, I guess.
Right.
What are you going to be speaking about on Thursday?
So I don't know if I've grasped this yet, but I'm the oldest on this panel coming as a millennial rancher. And so I'm excited to hear what some of the younger generation has to offer and also share the story that my husband and I have as millennial ranchers operating our own cow-calf operation.
So you're a younger generation farmer. Kind of talk about why young farmers or young people need to get into the farming industry.
There aren't very many of us, so we need, if our relatives are all at a generation where they're thinking about retiring or passing land on to the next generation, that next generation needs to be there, it needs to be eager, and needs to be strong enough to continue doing this.
And it's really changing the farming industry with a lot of things. Technology is really playing an important role in farming as well.
It is. Technology is playing an incredible role in the farming and ranching industries, but it also takes a lot of elbow grease. So you need to be able to have both.
We hear so much about precision ag and how important that is to a lot of farmers. You can you explain that, precision ag?
So my husband and I don't do much with the precision ag ourselves, as we don't do any crops. We are all livestock, but just looking at your herd health management tools that you have and working with your veterinarian, it's kind of a different spin on the precision ag, but the technology in both industries is incredible.
Coming back to the Ag Summit now, what are some of the topics that people are going to be listening to?
Great. Yeah, so we have an exciting 2 days full of events. Wednesday, we will have the Deputy Secretary of the USDA, Steve Sensky. He will be our keynote speaker, which we are really excited about to hear from him at the national level. And then on Thursday, we have Governor Noem joining us as well, and that's when she will host the Next Generation of Agriculture panel. And one of Governor Noem's initiatives, as well as Secretary Vanneman's initiatives, is to focus on the next generation. As Callie mentioned, there's a lot of people transitioning their operations right now, so it's important that we work with the next generation and harness what they can take on as they can continue the legacy for their families.
You know, people who may not be familiar with agriculture, they may perceive it as kind of a male-dominated industry, but that's changing. We've done stories on lots of women farmers. Can you talk about that? Changing face of farming?
It's definitely changing. Just going to college, you can see the amount of female students that are in animal science majors or even ag communications. There's been so many transitions into how women can be involved in ag that there are definitely more females involved in taking larger responsibilities in this industry.
How do people get signed up for the Governor's Summit?
Yes, if they go to sdagsummit.com, they can register, and the agenda is on there as well. And any questions that they have, they can contact the Department of Agriculture, and we're happy to help.
Will there be people there to talk about some of the stresses that farmers are facing?
Yes, we will have an economic panel on Wednesday. So that will cover some of the stresses as well. And I think it will just be an ongoing conversation. It's also a really great networking event. So as I said earlier, just to have all these agricultural leaders across the state meeting together, that's going to be really a good time for them to connect and talk about how they're handling how this year is going for them.
Do they need to pre-register, and how many people are you expecting?
I believe we're hoping for around 150, if not more. We would love to have more, so I encourage you to sign up. Please do pre-register, and we look forward to hosting a great event.
It might be one of the biggest events of the year, given the fact that farmers are dealing with so much this year.
Yes,
so.
exactly.
Well, thank you both for being on Inside KELOLAND. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are going to take a quick break. Stay with us inside KELOLAND. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Across KELOLAND, many farmers are dealing with a lot of stress due to the wet spring, prices, and other issues that are taking a toll. We recently showed you how the stress has taken a toll on one family. Amber Dykeshorn's family has a farm near Platte. Last month, her husband Chris took his own life.
And not being able to get the crops in, the financial burden of it, not having corn to feed the livestock, just a lot of components, you know, playing into that.
Dykeshorn hopes sharing her story will help shed light on the fact that there are resources for farmers and ranchers, and one of those resources is being a hotline number to call. KELOLAND's Sarah McDonald explains how it can help.
The Avera Farm and Rural Stress Hotline was developed just last year as a resource for farmers, ranchers, and their families. I spoke with the Vice President of Avera Behavioral Health about the hotline and what they've been seeing this year in regards to calls.
As the sun shines in some parts of KELOLAND today, it offers some growing weather for crops in the fields. But wet weather earlier this spring took a toll on farmers. It kept many out of the fields and left them dealing with stress. That's why Avera offers a stress hotline.
But one of the reasons we developed a hotline is because we understand that these are men and women that often have a hard time stepping forward to ask for help, and they're often in small communities where they're well known, and there's still stigma out there, and there's embarrassment to seek help.
Dr. Matthew Stanley says the hotline typically gets 2 to 3 calls a day.
We see highs and lows, and that's probably familiar to anybody who's a farmer or rancher. Kind of moves like the prices or the weather or the trade talks all those things seem to move the numbers up and down a little bit.
And every call is unique.
We've had calls, everything from what do I do to my hay, or do with my hay, it's stuck in the field and it's wet, to yeah, I'm depressed, I'm not able to function, even I've had some thoughts of suicide. So we've had a real gamut of people reaching out, seeking help.
When someone does call, they'll be connected with someone from the assessment team, who will then decide the level of care that is needed.
Do you need to come to the hospital? Can you see a local provider if you're comfortable with that? If you're not comfortable with that, what's our resources available in Sioux Falls or Mitchell or wherever you may be? And just direct you to the right place.
A resource that can potentially help save a life.
The hotline is free and confidential. To find that number, we've provided a link under this story on KELOLAND.com.
Thanks, Sarah. The USDA is also providing a little relief to farmers and ranchers. The agency has adjusted the haying and grazing date on prevent plant acres to September 1st. Before, farmers and ranchers were unable to access that cover crop until November 1st. Justin Minert farms in Lake County and says that this is good news.
It gives us an opportunity to find the correct cover crops that we want to get put in that'll give us the best feed value, and know that we can put them in now to control the weeds, control the wind and rain erosion, and be able to get value out of our crop.
Cover crops used after November 1st don't have as many nutrients to benefit livestock. This earlier date will allow that now. Financial relief is also available for some individuals. What you need to know when applying for FEMA assistance, coming up next. Welcome back to Inside KELOLAND. A late winter, early spring snowstorm and flooding caused extensive damage to many homes and businesses across KELOLAND. And now members of FEMA are in the state helping assess the damage. While several centers are also open in the state, there are several steps that you need to take to see if you qualify for funding. Joining us now tonight to help you better understand the process is Pamela Sosby. Welcome to KELOLAND.
Thank you so much for having me, Don. I really want to thank the station for giving us the time and the platform to share some important information with your audience, your viewers, and your followers. We're all about registration right now, and anyone who lives in an impacted county that was designated for disaster assistance is eligible to apply for assistance. It can be a renter, it can be a homeowner, it can be a business owner. They can be uninsured, they can be underinsured. As long as they lived in an impacted area, they can register for FEMA disaster assistance.
And here's one of the questions that I had right away would be, how much damage do you have to know if you want to actually register?
If your home is livable, then you will not be eligible for FEMA disaster assistance, but there could be other programs and resources that you could latch on to for assistance. So that's first and foremost. And one of the things that we want people to know is that just by registering for FEMA assistance, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get it. It means that you're now up for consideration. And it doesn't mean that FEMA is going to make you whole if you are given a grant for financial assistance. We are here and tasked with getting people to a start, and then there are other resources that can come into play to help them have a long-term recovery. So we want folks to know that going in, but we are encouraging folks to register. What we're hearing is that a lot of people have moved on, and maybe they paid for repair work and rebuilding their home that was damaged themselves, and incurred a lot of expenses for that, and they think they don't apply, they don't qualify for FEMA disaster assistance, but the fact is they do. There could be reimbursement checks that they could receive, and so we're asking them to register and go ahead and go through the process. Let us walk you through the process and see what you may be eligible to receive.
And since you're talking about the process, what's that process like for applying?
Well, we ask for information about you, your household, and the damages that you incurred. It takes maybe 15 minutes or so to do. We're asking people to call our helpline. Disasterassistance.gov online is a resource. Our helpline is 800-621-FEMA. Again, we've got that on the screen, disasterassistance.gov. You can register online. But we really want folks to try to get to our disaster recovery centers. There's one at Southeast Technical Institute on Career Avenue. We have folks there who are tested and trained in walking folks step by step through the process. They don't have to register before they come into the center, but we encourage them to do that because when they get there, if there were any hiccups, any documents that were missing, they will know that then and they can help folks get back on track if for whatever reason they got off track. So we want folks to do that as well.
And I know this for a fact, if you go online, it asks for things like social security number and some other personal information. Why does FEMA need to know that?
Well, it's a vetting process. We're verifying that the people we are talking to, and we're trying to see if they're available to get assistance, if they are who they say they are. So we will want your social security number. We will ask for your bank routing information so that if you are eligible, we can send that check directly into your account. If you have, feelings about it and don't want to do it that way, then we can mail your check to you that way. They'll ask for how many people are in the household and ask for your insurance information. Try to get an idea of the income of the household and a good idea, synopsis, if you will, of the damage that was incurred. And shortly after that, they will be called by an inspector. A FEMA inspector will call, set up an appointment, come through, look at the damages, all of the damaged areas of your home, make a report. And then, while we're looking at some damage there, some extensive damage, the inspector will document the damage, will not be able to make a decision one way or the other, but will send that information to FEMA. And then if that person is eligible for disaster aid through one of our disaster grants, one of our programs, that money will be sent to their account. Some folks get a determination letter that says maybe they're not eligible for whatever reason, and I have to be quick to say that if you get a determination letter, it is not final. It just puts a pause in the process. It means a flag went up, and we may need more documentation.
And there's an appeals process as well. I know that.
That's right. If it's not final, and we can walk you through that appeal. So it's the determination that you're ineligible may have come from FEMA, but FEMA is the agency that can also tell you what you need to do to appeal the decision.
And that inspection process doesn't take very long.
The what process?
The inspection process.
Oh, no, it takes about 30 minutes to get through it. They will walk through the house with you and ask to see any areas of the home that were damaged and document that. And then the process continues to move forward. And we just encourage folks who may have called the 211 number for the state and think that they registered for FEMA. Well, they did not. That's a separate process. And so we want folks to know that that doesn't mean that you applied for FEMA. If you called in your information and your damage to the state helpline, you need to register with FEMA. And we make it very easy for you. We are a workforce with a lot of compassion in trying to make things right for people who lost so much.
And I know you also refer individuals to SBA.
That's
just
right.
in case.
They are big partners with us. And so if you are referred to the Small Business Administration, they offer low-rate interest loans. If you are referred to them, we ask that even if you're not interested in an SBA loan, that you still go through the process, because if you don't, it stops the process.
Right.
It stops everything. So we definitely encourage folks to do that if they're referred to the
Once
SBA.
you've notified them, now that locks you into, like, if something would happen later on because of the damage, because of the flooding.
Then that becomes an option for you. And if you are approved by the SBA, if they offer you a loan, you don't have to accept it. And you don't even have to accept the full amount if it's more than what you want to take on in your life.
In the last 30 seconds, how's it going for you guys here in KELOLAND, and how much longer do you think you're going to be here?
We will be here as long as the state wants us and needs us to be here. We're huge partners with the state. Our response to this disaster has been robust. So far, way more than $600,000, actually close to $600,000 has been approved to help individuals, to help business owners and others who were impacted by the flood, the winter weather, and the severe storms. We just want folks to exercise some patience and understanding as we work to get folks through the process and know that our objective is to try to get them on the right start to a full recovery.
Pamela Sosby with FEMA, thank you so much for being on Inside KELOLAND.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us Inside KELOLAND. We'll be right back. It's tourism season in KELOLAND, and that means a lot of people may have popular attractions such as Mount Rushmore on their travel agendas this summer. But those aren't the only famous faces you're going to find in KELOLAND. Back in 2016, Dignity of Earth and Sky was installed near Chamberlain. Dale Lamphere is the sculptor behind the 50-foot tall piece of work. Tonight, KELOLAND's Kelly Volk travels to Chamberlain to find out if the attraction along the interstate is driving tourism traffic to town.
When Evan and Mary Bachtel started heading back home to Iowa after a vacation in western KELOLAND, they knew the sightseeing wasn't over just yet.
My uncle was telling me about it. He said, don't forget to see Dignity. It's quite the thing to see.
Dignity didn't disappoint.
Wow. It's about the only way to describe it.
The husband and wife are among the many who gaze in awe at the masterpiece. Some of those visitors are finding their way into the quilt shop on Chamberlain's Main Street. Owner Sonia Kropa estimates business has picked up about 25 to 30% since Dignity's arrival.
Where are they coming from? All over the world, actually. I get a lot from France. I just had a lot of people from Canada.
And it continues to lure the locals as well. Kropa steps away from her own shop from time to time just to see Dignity.
It's just us. I'm from here, I love it here, and she just means what we are.
But local tourism officials say more can be done. Chamberlain is across the interstate from the rest area where Dignity stands.
Just getting them from the visitor center down onto our main street is what our goal is now.
Rochelle Hopkins is the operational manager for the Chamberlain-Owatonna Area Chamber of Commerce. The chamber is incorporating the popular piece into its new rebranding effort.
On this one
of the new billboard designs includes a picture of Dignity.
We just feel like we don't have a strong enough presence in the tourism industry. So we're working on trying to get that out there and get recognized more as a tourist destination.
The town offers several more attractions, including this gallery and gift shop inside the Dakota Indian Foundation. Much of the art is made by local talents.
I think the thing of it is you find once you bring people downtown, they're like, whoa, I didn't know this was here.
Chamberlain's really well known for their hunting and fishing, but not as well known for their culture and their arts.
That's the perception they're trying to change with the rebrand.
Chamberlain should be a huge draw. I mean, we're sitting in one of the most beautiful places in South Dakota, and we've just been overlooked too long.
And they're hoping Dignity can help guide people toward what the town across I-90 has to offer.
We are a diamond in the rough that a lot of people just don't know about.
Now that the Bachtels know more about the area, they might just be back.
It's really quite beautiful.
With Eye on KELOLAND, I'm Kelly Volk.
Another one of Dale Lamphere's sculptures is turning heads in KELOLAND. The second half of the Arc of Dreams was recently installed in downtown Sioux Falls. That's all the time we have for today. Be sure to join us again next week for more on what's going on inside KELOLAND. I'm Don Jorgensen. Thanks for watching.